Welcome to Educational Psychology 223, Section 0L05. I am Dr. Terry Bethea-Hampton. First of all, let's take a look at the outcomes, the learning outcomes. What is educational psychology? How will it help you to become a better teacher? What is the nature and values of science? How does good teaching and educational psychology go together? And teaching as an inquiry. So first of all, we're going to take a look at what is educational psychology. Educational psychology is a scientific discipline that uses psychological concepts and research methods to understand how the various characteristics of students, teachers, learning tasks, and educational settings interact to produce the everyday values and behaviors we see in the school setting. Now, how will educational psychology help you to become a better teacher? Teaching is a complex enterprise, research that informs teachers, and coursework and competence. In regard to teaching is a complex enterprise. Educational psychology addresses the many factors that make teaching a challenging profession. And then research that informs teachers. Educational psychology offers useful and tested ideas for improving instruction. In regard to coursework and competence, educational psychology helps prepare teachers to be effective. We talk about teaching being a complex enterprise. Despite the fact that students are grouped by age, they have different characteristics and need to be understood and taught as individuals. Many decisions have to be made before, during, and after instruction, so educational psychology can provide insights to help teachers cope with those strategies that students need to be taught during that time. Research in educational psychology informs teaching. Numerous books and articles summarize research conducted under realistic classroom conditions. They talk about what works, what doesn't work. And then finally, research in educational psychology for informing teachers. Doing what works is what we call best practices, providing information about research-based programs and practices. Best practices evidence presents itself in research, and the use of these resources to answer scientific questions that will likely change over time. What about the nature and value of science? So we talk about educational psychology, and then we want to take a look at the scientific side of it as well. Limitations of non-scientific reasoning, mistaking correlation relationships for cause and effect relationships, generalizing from a single example, and retaining students in a grade is an example of a practice that results from non-scientific observation. The nature and values of science, however, the strengths in this is the strengths of scientific observation, a systematic scientific approach to studying educational problems. And this scientific approach is characterized by a representative sample of subjects, control of non-relevant variables, objectivity, published procedures and results, and publication by others. If we look at the complicating factors in studying human behavior, we look at selection and interpretation of data, and we also take a look at new findings as they come out. You know, everything is always new. There's so much information on the internet, so we have to take a look at new findings, and we take a look at good teaching practices and the art of teaching and so forth. So I hope that you have a good understanding that educational psychology is basically us looking at the social development and academic development, just the whole child, overview of the whole child as they matriculate through the school system and through their years of maturing, growth, and development, and how we as teachers, as we understand each stage better, that will help us as we learn our students. It is a complex enterprise, and as we go through that complex enterprise, we'll take a look at some of the straightforward information that is out there on educational psychology. Research that informs teachers, coursework and competence, the nature and value of science, and limitations of scientific reasoning, strengths of scientific observation, and complicating factors in the study of behavior and thought. Limited focus of research. Take a look at the complexity of teaching and learning, and the selection and interpretation of data. New findings mean revised ideas. So there's some scientific information is not only voluminous and subject to different interpretation, it also constantly is being revised. And of course, like I said, there's so much stuff on the internet that it's difficult to keep up with. Good teaching is partly an art and partly a science. Some of us say it's a calling, it's a ministry. You really have to love it to be in it. But there is, in this part of the book, there is a video that you can watch. Talks about whether it's an art or whether it's a science. There's a pause and reflect there that says the effective teacher is an artist and a communicator and an enthusiast and so forth. So, you know, when we go to work, we're just all types of things rolled up into one. So we are, it is an art and it's a science at the same time. It's both. There's no wrong answer there. So as you go through the chapter, I want you to think about whether or not your teaching is more artistic or if it is more scientific, as it says here. Teaching as an inquiry, a process to help you grow from novice to expert. And here there is a video. It is not part of your assignment, but there is a video that you can watch here, and then you can answer the questions there. And it kind of gives you a deeper insight into teaching as an art and as a science. How will educational psychology help you to be a better teacher? I want to go back to that. Like I said, teaching is a complex enterprise, and educational psychology addresses the many factors that make teaching a challenging profession. So we take a look at the ways students learn and their environments and so forth. With teaching being a complex enterprise, despite the fact that students are grouped by age, they have different characteristics, as I said before. There's numerous books and articles out there that will help us to summarize the research that has been conducted under realistic classroom conditions. And that will also help us kind of put it under the microscope so we can see how students actually learn and the best way for students to learn. We'll take a look at multiple intelligences. We'll take a look at how they're combined, and when you put those intelligences together, what we can learn from that. There's a large body of research out there that says that, you know, teaching is an art. Then there's a large body that says that teaching is a science. And so hopefully when you get through reading through this chapter, you'll be able to answer those useful questions and gather some data about it, and then be able to write your paper reflectively on why you think that you want to become a teacher. All right, that'll do it. And thank you guys so much.